Hello students, welcome to Distinction Learning Platform, and in this video we will look at kidney failure. Alright, so before we begin our lessons, make sure that you subscribe, comment, as well as you like the video, and in the comment section you'll find a link that will take you to the website where you find other videos as well. Make sure that you click on that link. Let us begin. So what is kidney failure? So kidney failure, we'll just give it the simplest definition, which is malfunction of the kidneys. So what is kidney failure? So kidney failure, this is just malfunctioning of the kidneys. So that's what we call kidney failure, malfunction of the kidneys. So what does it mean if you say malfunctioning? It means that the kidneys are not working well, right? So malfunctioning, it means that something that is not working well or performing its function. So if the kidneys are not performing their function, meaning that someone is having kidney failure. What is the function of the kidney? The function of the kidney is to remove urine from the body. Make sure that you remember about that. Now, if the kidneys are not removing urine, meaning that they are malfunctioning, basically someone is having what we call kidney failure. Now, the question that you can ask is, what could cause this malfunctioning of the kidneys? So what could cause kidney failure? So now we need to talk about the causes. So what are the causes of kidney failure? So causes, what are the causes? Okay, so the first cause can be, the most important cause is a common one, which is the road traffic accident. So let's just say accident. So what's the first cause? The first cause is what? Accidents. Road traffic accident. So let's just say accident. Okay. What's the cause? Accidents. Okay, or RTA. Road traffic accident. So that's the first cause, because if you are in the road traffic accident, somehow maybe you injure your kidneys, and the kidneys, they are not going to start working well. That's how you can develop kidney failure from the accidents. All right, let's go to another cause, which is number 2. Apart from accidents, what could cause kidney failure? Do we know that? Yes, we know it is infections. Infections can cause what? Kidney failure. What are the good examples of infections? It can be bacterial infections. So let's put in brackets bacterial. So let's just say bacteria. Okay, one good example of those infections. So this infection, someone with a bacteria in the body, or a lot of bacteria in the body, meaning that this bacteria, they can go to the kidneys and they will start eating up the kidneys or start destroying the kidneys, making sure that there is malfunctioning of the kidneys, leading to what we call kidney failure. That's how infections can cause kidney failure or malfunctioning of the kidneys. Okay, then what is the other important cause apart from infections? The other important cause is kidney stones. Okay, kidney stones. So kidney stones can also cause kidney failure. So kidney stone, basically, we're just saying in the kidneys there are some stones that are making sure that the kidneys stop functioning properly. So which simply means that if someone is having kidney stones, basically it can lead to what we call kidney failure. All right. So these are the important causes that you need to understand. But there are a lot of conditions that can lead to what? A kidney failure. A lot of conditions. So, but simply, we just have to know 3 important causes of kidney failures. You can have accidents, you can have infections, as well as you can have kidney stones. So these are the diseases or things that can cause kidney failure. Okay, now if someone is having kidney failure, how can you treat this kidney failure? So let's talk about the treatment. So what is the treatment of this kidney failure? Okay, so what is the treatment? So the treatment, basically there are two important ways in which you can manage kidney failure, or particularly we can have three important ways in which we can treat kidney failure. The first one is, basically we use what we call medications or medications. Okay, we can give medications to treat kidney failure, but good example of those medications that work on the kidneys is we can use diuretics. Okay, so good example, if you want to remember this one, for the medication that we give to someone having kidney failure, we can have what we call diuretics, if you want to remember this one. Okay, these they help in kidney failure, these drugs. Okay, so apart from drugs, we can use something as well. Apart from drugs, we can also do another way of treating kidney failure. What is that? Kidney machine, which we'll talk about now. Kidney machine. The other term that we use apart from kidney machine is dialysis machine. So we'll write there. Okay. So number two, or the other treatment that we can use apart from giving medications such as diuretics, we can give what we call, or we can put them on the dialysis machine or the kidney machine. Then the last and the important thing that we can do is kidney transplant. So what is this kidney transplant? So kidney transplant is more like you're going to remove the kidneys that is not working well from yourself, and you're going to receive the healthy kidney from another person who is healthy. All right, so this is what we are going to call it, kidney transplant. So kidney transplant is just making sure that there is a donor of that health kidney to the receiver or recipient of that, someone who is having an unhealthy kidney. Okay, so kidney transplant, what does it mean? It means that someone is giving out the health kidney to someone who is having kidney failure. All right, that is what we call kidney transplant. But on kidney transplant, they are going to ask you some things that are required so that kidney transplant can happen. So these are the things that I write here in blue. These are the things that are going to be considered. Okay, what's the first thing that's going to be considered before kidney transplant, or before giving out the health kidney to the recipient, is what? Blood type. So we need to look at the blood group type. Okay, we need to look at the blood group type. That's the first thing that you need to look for before you give the healthy kidney or receive the healthy kidney. So the first thing is you need to look at the blood group type. Is it type A, type B, or maybe blood group O? All right, so that's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing that you need to do before kidney transplant is what? You screen for infections, because you can't receive a kidney which is infected with some bacteria. So we need to screen for infection. So the other thing that you need to do, you screen for infections. Okay, then the last thing that you need to do is this. Okay, blood group type, screen for infection. Then the also another important thing that you also need to do before what? Receiving what? The kidney from the healthy patient. Okay, look at also the age. Okay, you can't receive the kidney from someone who is older. Okay, maybe greater than 70, you can't receive a kidney from there. Okay, also look at the age as well. Okay, you look at the age. So these are important thing that you need to do before the kidney transplant, in case you are asked about it, the conditions or things that you need to do before kidney transplant. Now, let us look at this treatment, which is kidney machine. So let us look at the kidney machine, how it works, because this kidney machine or dialysis machine, they like bring it during an exam. So what are we calling this machine? We're calling it as dialysis machine. Dialysis machine. We're calling it as what? Dialysis machine or the kidney machine. Okay, this is the kidney machine or dialysis machine. How does it work? So let us begin now. So in the dialysis machine, let us try to identify the important parts of this dialysis machine. So if you look at this part, this is the dialysis machine. This is the part. Inside there is this fluid. What do we call this fluid inside? This fluid inside the dialysis machine, we call it dialysis fluid. So what do we call this? We call it dialysis fluid. We are going to be asked on this dialysis fluid. Alright, so that is what we call dialysis fluid. And the question that they like asking about the dialysis fluid is, what are the components of the dialysis fluid? So in this fluid, what are the things that you can find inside this fluid? Alright, so let us write it here. So what are the things that you can find in what? Dialysis fluid. What are those things that are important that you need to find there? So in the dialysis fluid, what you can find is what? The first important one is you can find glucose. You can find glucose. You can find amino acids. You can find salts. You can find water. Okay. So these are the things that you can find in the what? Dialysis fluid. So you can find glucose, you can find amino acid, you can find salts, you can find water. That's what you can find in the dialysis fluid. So these are the things that you can find. Okay? But things that you can't find, not found in the dialysis fluid, you are going to be asked again. They are going to ask you to say what are the things that, or what are the components that you can't find in the dialysis fluid. What can you say? It is what? Urea. So urea can be found in the dialysis fluid. So here it is the urea. So this is the most important component that you need to understand. Okay? Again, what are the things that you can find in the dialysis fluid? You can find glucose, amino acid, salts, water. What are the things that you can't find in the dialysis fluid? It is what? Urea. Urea can be found in the dialysis fluid. Alright? So since now we've understood about the dialysis fluid, we go to another component. Okay? Another component. We come here. Alright? So here, as you can see, we have this needle that is coming from this tube. Okay, we need to know this tube, the name of this tube, because you're going to be asked about that tube. Okay, so what do we call this tube? So this tube is what we call it dialysis tubal. So what do we call this tube? The one which is in blue, what do we call this? We call it dialysis tubal. Okay, dialysis tubal. So let us make space for this so that we also talk about the dialysis tubal. Everything is important in the dialysis fluid or in the dialysis machine. So now dialysis tubal, like we talked about the dialysis fluid, let us talk about this dialysis tubal. Why is it there and why is it important? So the most important thing that you need to remember about this dialysis tubal is this one. Okay. This dialysis tubal, it is what? Selective permeable. Selective permeable. Okay, and again you need to understand what it means when you say selective permeable. So this dialysis tuber is more like a cell membrane. It's going to select some substances to pass through and some other substances not to pass through. Okay, I'll explain about that. So now under dialysis tuber, it is what? Selective permeable, because it allows smaller substances to pass through and larger substances not to pass through. No wonder it is selective permeable. So look at that. So in this tuber, what can you find? Okay, so apart from being selective permeable, so what can you find inside this tuber? What can you find? You can find a lot of things. So you can find glucose. So let us try to name this. We can find glucose. What else? You can find amino acids. So glucose, amino acids. You can find salts. You can also find water. But also you can find urea. Okay? As you can see, inside here, what you can find inside these two, we're saying you can find all the components that are required. So you can find glucose, amino acids, salt, water, as well as the urea. And the other thing that you can find is blood cells. So blood cells, I mean, you can find red blood cells, you can find white blood cells, and many other things. So all the blood cells, they can be found inside the dialysis tuber. Okay, so that's the thing that you need to understand about the dialysis tuber. The components that can be found inside the dialysis tuber, as well as now why it is called selective permeable membrane, or why is it like selective permeable. Now, if we've understood about the dialysis tuber, what is the other important component that we need to understand? If you look at here, this dialysis tuber, it has this extension, which is more like a needle that is going to be connected to a certain blood vessel. So as you can see, there are two blood vessels that are here. This is, so we're going to just represent it using a letter. So this is an artery, okay, and this is a vein. As you can see, the dialysis tuber, and it has an extension, which is a needle, and the needle is going to be penetrating the vein, okay. And as you can see, this is the needle is going to be penetrating the vein, as well as here. After it comes back like that, it's going to again penetrate the vein, okay. So now the question is, they like asking about this question: why is this needle, or why is this dialysis machine connected to a vein, again to a vein? So there are some various reasons to that. So let us talk about those reasons. Okay, what are the reasons why the dialysis tuber or the dialysis machine is connected to the vein, again to the vein? Okay, it is because of this. So this is the reason why the dialysis machine, why the machine is connected to the vein. So these are the reasons. So I'll put at least two reasons so that you can remember. So the first reason for this one is, the first reason, it is this. It is because in the veins there is what? Low blood pressure. Okay? Because if you remember, if you look at the veins and the arteries, what is the pressure? Which blood vessel has got the high blood pressure? It is the artery. So the dialysis machine shouldn't be connected to an artery. Reason being because there is high blood pressure, and that high blood pressure will make sure that there is no diffusion of what unwanted substances in the dialysis machine. No wonder we need to connect it to a vein with what? Low blood pressure. Anyway, what you need to remember is that why is the machine connected to the vein? Because it is in the veins there is what? Low blood pressure. And another reason that you can talk about is this one: low risk of clotting or forming clots. So let's just say low risk of forming clots. Low risk of forming clots. So what do I mean? Remember that if this is a blood vessel, so I'm just giving an example. A clot, it means that the platelets are forming something that is obstructing to the flow of blood. So this is what we call a clot. So in veins, if you are connecting to the vein, there's low risk of forming those clots in the blood vessels. Because if you form those clots in the blood vessels, they can have various complications that we don't need. So no wonder it is connected to the vein. So remember about two important reasons. What's the first reason? We said there is low blood pressure in the veins. The second reason is what? Low risk of forming clots. Okay. Now, let's go to another important aspect now. So, since we know that this is now the needle that is connected to the vein. Now, the flow of this fluid, which is inside here, it will be like this, up until it goes back to the what? It goes back to the vein again. So that's the direction of the fluid which is here. Okay, and this fluid which is here, it's going to contain a lot of things. We're going to have, what did we say? We're going to have the red blood cells. So red blood cells. We're going to have white blood cells. We're going to have glucose. What else? We're going to have amino acids. What else? We're going to have salts. Okay, we're going to have water. So these are the things that will be found inside the dialysis tube here inside. Okay, and what did we say? What about outside? Outside, what we can find glucose, we can find amino acid, we can find salts, we can find water, we can't find urea. But here, I forgot one. You can find here urea. Inside the dialysis tube, you can find urea. Okay, so that's what we said. Because if you remember, in the dialysis tube, you can find glucose, amino acid, salt, and water. But we can also find urea and blood cells, such as red blood cells, like that. Okay, now this is where I'm going to tell you why urea is not found in the dialysis fluid. All right, if you look at glucose, let's start with this one. If you look at glucose, amino acid, salt, and water, they can be found where? In either way. So you can find them in the dialysis fluid, you can find them in the dialysis tube. So the reason why you are able to find the glucose in both compartments, because we don't need glucose to go there. Because if glucose is here and glucose is here, there is no need for glucose to start coming out of the dialysis tube and go to the dialysis fluid, because there is the equal amount of glucose in both compartments. As well as the amino acid. If there is amino acid and also amino acid here, amino acid can't go there. Alright? Also same applies to salt. Salt, they can't also diffuse into the dialysis fluid. Why? Because there is equal amount of salt in the dialysis fluid as well as in the dialysis tube. Same applies to water as well. Okay? But sometimes there are some ways that you can, if you want to remove water from the blood, basically you can remove water here so that water can start coming out from the dialysis fluid. From the dialysis tube going to the dialysis fluid, like that. Alright? Now, let's go to urea. As you can see, urea here, there is no urea. There is zero urea in the dialysis fluid. If there is zero urea in the dialysis fluid, what do you think is going to happen? Urea will come out of what? Will come out of the dialysis tube, because we said dialysis tube is selective permeable. It allows smaller substances to pass through. Okay, and the reason why these are very smaller substances, they can't pass through this. The reason why, because in the dialysis fluid there are equal amount of those substances. But unlike urea, there is nothing urea in the dialysis fluid, so no wonder it's able to come out of the dialysis tube and goes into the dialysis fluid so that it can be removed. The reason why, because as you can see, these all things, they need to go back. The glucose, the salt, the water, they has to go back into the what? The vein there, so that you can use glucose, amino acid for energy production. But urea, it has been excreted. It is outside. It can't go back into the blood stream of that person. No wonder that is crucial. Okay. Now, this urea, as you can see, is going to be what? It's going to be removed here, somewhere here in the collector. So urea will be in the dialysis fluid, and there is a connector that is there that's going to be used to remove urea. So, but why am I talking about this urea, removing of urea? Because urea is something that is dangerous in the body. If you leave urea and go back into the bloodstream, it will cause a lot of problems to the body, whereby you're going to have like confusion, dizziness, maybe you're going to be in the coma because of that urea. So we don't need urea, we need to remove it using this collector. Okay. And the last important thing that I need to talk about here is this one. If you look at the flow of the dialysis, the flow of this plasma within the dialysis tube, it is like this. And if you look at this pump, this is what we call the pump. They like asking question about this. Okay, this pump is the one that is pumping this dialysis fluid into the dialysis machine like that, and the direction would be like this. Okay, as you can see, the direction of the dialysis fluid is opposite to the direction of the fluid or the component within the dialysis tube. So what I'm saying is, as you can see, this is the direction of what? The dialysis tubal component, and this is the direction of the dialysis fluid. They are in the opposite direction. Why is it like that? So again, we need to write something about that. So the question is this: why is the dialysis fluid direction, dialysis fluid direction is in the opposite direction to the movement of the dialysis tubal component. Dialysis tubal component. So that's the question that I was asking. So make sure that you pay attention to this. Again, let us understand this question. The question is, why is the dialysis fluid direction is in the opposite direction to the movement of dialysis tubal components? Okay, so this is the thing that I was talking about. The dialysis tubal components, they are in the opposite direction to the movement of the dialysis fluid like that. Why is it like that? These are the answers for that. The first important answer for this one is to facilitate faster diffusion. So facilitate diffusion. Okay, so that's the most important answer for that. So facilitate diffusion. So it will make sure that the movement of components between these two compartments, which is the dialysis fluid and the dialysis tube, is going to be increased. So that this urea, for urea to come out of this dialysis tube, it is because of what? This opposite direction of fluid. Okay, it's because of that. So that's why it is important to know about that. So it's just making sure that there is diffusion that is happening there. That's the main reason behind that direction. So this is where we end from. Right, so make sure that you copy whatever we are discussing here, and make sure that you study Until next time.